You may have seen or heard about auto present door handles and soft closing doors on the Tesla Model 3, and not to mention the why. I'm Frugal Tesla Guy, and we're going to take a closer look at what it takes to make that happen. The Tesla Model 3 is an amazing car in its own right, but there are many people who feel it falls short in a few categories. Not having an auto opening and closing trunk is where it all started, and a company called Hancho delivered. Then the auto opening and closing front soon followed. But what about those amazing auto presenting door handles on the S and X? Why didn't they do that on the Model 3, and not to mention the why? Well, no matter what the reason, Hancho has delivered once again, and they took it one step further by offering soft closing doors as well. So when they approached me to have them installed in my car, I jumped on the opportunity right away. I'm approaching the auto presenting door handles and soft closing doors in a different manner for two reasons. First and foremost, upon observing the installation process, I quickly discovered this is not your average install, and secondly, a very important part that allows the car to speak with your phone via Bluetooth didn't fit my car for a reason we'll go into a little bit later. So let's start at the beginning. You may recognize this guy. His name is Larry Lee, and he has been gracious enough to install my auto frunk, trunk, and just recently the auto presenting door handles and soft closing doors. All, of course, free of charge. Now, he lives in the San Francisco Bay Area and professionally installs all of the products I just mentioned. Now, if you live in or near the Bay Area, I highly recommend you check out his website and give him a call, which is, of course, that information will be in the description below. Now, he works efficiently, is very thorough, and stands behind his work. In fact, when the auto trunk was first released, it was common to run the strut cables through the tail light opening. Now, once he heard about complaints of water leaking into the car as a result, he recalled all of his auto trunk clients and fixed the problem right away. Now, as I mentioned earlier, I'm not going to do a how-to video with this particular product because of just how complex it is, but I still want you to see the process involved. He started on the passenger side, where he removed several panels to get access to a 12-volt battery power source and to eventually run some cables. It was now time to remove the panel, which is held on by 3 screws and several clips. Once he took the panel off, he then aligned the bolts that hold the window in place with 2 openings on the door. Now he removed those bolts and took the window out. It was at this point I realized we were beginning to get into an install that could quickly go wrong if you didn't know exactly what you were doing. So here's a look at where we are so far. We've got the exposed speaker with wires and another panel that needs to be removed. And you see that cable with the green on the end? That releases the door latch so you can open it. That, among other things, will be removed and replaced. The next panel needed to be removed, which is held on by several bolts and clips. Now when you remove that panel, two metal clips will fall off and fall into the door, which will need to be retrieved and then placed back on that particular panel. Now it's time to remove the original door latch, which is held on by 3 screws. Now, since there is very little space, it takes some time and patience to get it out completely. Next, the hand show door latch goes in, which looks the same, only it has a few more wires attached. Once he got it in place and lined up, he was able to put the screws supplied by Handshow, not the originals, back in. All right, time to check in again. And here's what it looks like at this point. Looks a little intimidating if you ask me. Next, the door handle. Now there are 3 nuts that hold it in place, and as you can see, not very easy to get to. And there's the door handle taken off the car. The handle and its casing will still be used. However, a new spring and a motor need to be added. Take a look at the amount of wires and connections that need to be managed. To be honest, it looks like an episode of Stranger Things. Now this part of the installation process is where he ran into an obstacle because the CAN bus plug didn't fit. After doing a little more research, we discovered the CAN bus plug is a different size for the 2018 and earlier models than the 2019 and later. So unfortunately, the Auto Present feature will have to wait. The good news is he was still able to continue with the install. Now the power source needed to be run through to the door, which once again is not a very easy process. The install on the first door is very important because since it taps into a 12-volt power source, this is where the other doors will pull their power as well. In fact, The cable was designed to run to each door, even if you only install them on 2 doors, like what Larry's doing with my car. With that said, the wires all need to be fished through to the center console where the CAN bus wire is, and then each wire from there goes to each individual door. Now that everything is in place, he needs to tidy up all of the wires, which is a little tricky because you have to make sure they don't get in the way of the window going up and down. Then it's time to wrap things up and put the speaker and panels back on the door. But before he does that, he needs to put the window back into place. Now it's on to door number 2. Can you imagine having to do this 4 times? This is a job that will easily take a professional like Larry 4 to 5 hours. If you're doing this for the first time, it could take the entire day and possibly more than 1 day. Now, since I didn't have the rear doors done, he did neatly tuck the wires under the center console for future access. He also made it easy for me to access the wires once I do get the new CAN bus cable from Handshow. Minus the auto present feature, which quite honestly was the most exciting feature for me, but we'll have to wait. But other than that, everything worked beautifully. The soft closing doors worked like a charm, and for now, to open the door, I need to give the right side of the handle a light push, and the handle will present itself. Now once I pull on the handle, the door will open, and opening from the inside works just as it always did. Be sure to check in later, because once I get the new CAN bus cable plugged in and test out the auto-presenting door handles, I will have a complete review of everything that was installed in this video. Now be sure to also write anything you would like to know about these products in the comment section below, and I'll see if I can address those in the review. Until then, You know the drill. Like, subscribe, and stay positively charged.